Don't tell anyone you're my mother. Those were the words my daughter whispered to me on what should have been the proudest day of my life. I had raised Sophie with my own two hands, sacrificed everything to build her future, and now she wanted me to erase myself in front of the world. That single sentence shattered me, but it also lit a fire in my heart that would change both of our lives forever. My name is Margaret Chen, and I am 62 years old. For nearly 4 decades, I have run our family bakery in Riverside, Washington. Since the age of 25, I have risen before the sun every day, kneading dough by 4 a.m., serving customers until the last loaf was gone, and returning home exhausted but satisfied that my daughter had food, books, and a chance at the life I never had. I wore the same 3 dresses for years, ate plain bread and butter for dinner when money was tight, and pawned family heirlooms to cover her tuition. Everything I did for Sophie. She was my dream made flesh. When Sophie called me 5 days before her big award ceremony in Seattle, I was thrilled. Her voice brimmed with excitement. She said she would be honored as the youngest winner of the Young Entrepreneur Award in Washington State, that magazines and investors would be there, and she wanted me to see her receive it. For a mother who had spent years feeling Sophie slipping further into a new, polished world, the invitation felt like a bridge back to her. I spent 3 days preparing. I found a green dress at the thrift store, treated myself to a haircut at the salon, and baked her favorite chocolate chip cookies to bring as a gift. That Saturday, I stood outside the towering glass building where the ceremony was already underway. Through the windows, I watched Sophie smile for photographers, trophy in hand, shaking hands with men in expensive suits. Each time her gaze drifted toward the door where I stood. Her smile faltered for just a moment before snapping back into place. My phone buzzed with a message, "Mom, wait before coming upstairs. I'll tell you when." Confused, I waited. 30 minutes passed, then 45. My cookies grew heavy in my hands as I watched her embrace a distinguished gray-haired man as though he were her world. Finally, she called. Her voice was tight, careful. She explained that the event was more professional than she expected, that image mattered here, that people cared about appearances. I told her I understood how to behave, that she had raised me to know better. Then came the pause. "Mom, I need to ask you a favor. If you come up, don't tell anyone you're my mother. Just say you're a family friend." The world fell silent. Cars drove past, people walked on the street, but I heard nothing except those words echoing in my chest. My throat tightened. "Are you ashamed of me?" I whispered. She insisted it wasn't shame, just business, just image. But I knew. The silence on her end said more than words ever could. She begged again. "Please, Mom, just this once." I swallowed my pride and agreed. "Yes, Sophie, I'll do exactly what you asked." My voice sounded cold, even to me. She thanked me brightly and hung up, unaware that something deep inside me had broken. For 28 years I had been proud to call myself her mother, and now she wanted me invisible. But if Sophie thought I would simply fade quietly into the background, she was wrong. If she wanted me to deny being her mother, then I would deny it so completely that she would never forget what that request truly meant. When the text finally came telling me to come upstairs, I walked into that marble lobby with my head held high. The green dress felt less like thrift and more like armor. I rode the elevator up to the 15th floor and entered a glittering room full of polished people. Sophie rushed over, forcing a smile, calling me by my first name instead of Mom. She introduced me to the distinguished man, William Thompson, a venture capitalist, and said I was someone who had known her for a very long time. William shook my hand warmly and asked how I knew Sophie. I looked at my daughter's pleading eyes, saw the panic swimming in them, and smiled sweetly. "Oh, I'm nobody special," I said loud enough for nearby guests to hear. "Just someone who used to change her diapers when she was little." The room went still. Sophie's face drained of color. "Margaret!" she hissed under her breath, but I wasn't finished. I told William about Sophie's fear of the dark as a child, about how she used to crawl into my bed at night, about how she practiced her speeches in our kitchen with a wooden spoon as a microphone. Sophie's desperate whispers grew sharper, but I raised my voice cheerfully, making sure everyone nearby could hear. "Of course, I'm not supposed to say I'm her mother." Sophie was very clear about that. She told me, "Don't tell anyone you're my mom." So I'm just following orders. Gasps rippled through the crowd. Phones rose as people began recording. Sophie's composure cracked. Her eyes brimmed with tears. "Mom, please stop," she whispered, but I looked her squarely in the eyes and said, "Oh, now I'm Mom again. I thought I was just Margaret." The perfect party grew silent. All eyes on us. Sophie was trapped in the lie she had created, and I was making sure she felt the weight of it. She had asked me to hide, to deny, to erase myself. Instead, I gave her exactly what she asked for, but in a way that would make her understand the cost of such a cruel request. The more I spoke, the quieter the room became. Sophie's polished mask crumbled as I recounted the years of sacrifice she wanted erased. I told William and anyone else who would listen about the long nights when I drove 4 hours to Seattle because she was sick in her dorm room, about the meals I skipped so she could eat properly, about the mornings when I opened the bakery before sunrise to cover the cost of her textbooks. Each word cut Sophie deeper, and she finally grabbed my arm, whispering through clenched teeth, "Please, just stop." I looked her straight in the eyes, my voice calm but sharp. "But sweetheart, I'm only doing exactly what you asked. You told me not to tell anyone I was your mother. Isn't that right?" The crowd murmured, people recording every second on their phones. Sophie's panic was visible, her breathing shallow, her face wet with tears she could no longer hide. William cleared his throat uncomfortably, trying to intervene. But I wasn't finished. "This is the woman who called me 5 days ago so excited about this award. She begged me to come see her moment of glory. And silly me, I thought it was because she was proud to be my daughter. But apparently, she just wanted me to practice disappearing. A magic trick. Watch Sophie Chen make her mother vanish." Sophie's composure finally snapped. She screamed, "Stop it. You're ruining everything." Her voice echoed across the hall, silencing the last of the whispers. I looked at her one last time, my heart heavy but resolute. Then I turned and walked toward the elevator, leaving her crying in the center of her perfect world, surrounded by colleagues who now saw a very different version of their golden girl. The elevator doors closed, and I saw my reflection in the polished metal. I looked exactly the same as I had 2 hours earlier, but everything inside me had changed. Sophie had asked me not to tell anyone I was her mother. I had obeyed, but I had made sure the entire world understood what that obedience truly cost. The bus ride home to Riverside was long and silent. My phone buzzed with messages, but none were from Sophie. Instead, there were calls from neighbors, friends, and even distant relatives. By the time I reached my small house behind the bakery, the video of my confrontation had already gone viral. My neighbor, Mrs. Garcia, was waiting on my porch with tamales and worry in her eyes. "Margaret, honey, I saw it online. Are you all right?" She showed me her phone. Headlines screamed, "Young entrepreneur's mother exposes daughter's shame at ceremony." The view count climbed by the second: 25,000, 50,000, 100,000. The comments were brutal. "Imagine being so successful you're embarrassed by your own mother. This poor woman worked her whole life, and her daughter pretends she doesn't exist." Others were harsher still, calling Sophie heartless, arrogant, ungrateful. Some even called me cruel for humiliating her so publicly. I sat in my kitchen late into the night, scrolling through the endless stream of opinions. For 28 years, Sophie and I had spoken nearly every day. Now there was nothing but silence. I wondered if I had gone too far, if my fury had destroyed the very relationship I had been trying to defend. The next morning, reporters crowded my street. News vans idled by the bakery. "Mrs. Chen, can we get a comment? Do you regret what happened?" I shut the blinds, refusing to answer. But the video spread faster than fire in dry grass. Within days, national outlets picked it up. Talk show hosts debated whether I was a hero or a villain. Hashtags trended. My name was suddenly known across the country, not for my bread, but for my betrayal. 4 days later, Sophie finally called. Her voice was broken, trembling. "Mom, I've lost everything." She explained that her business partners had cut ties, saying the scandal made her a liability. Clients were withdrawing, magazines were canceling features. "No one will work with me now. I'm toxic." My stomach twisted. "Sweetheart, I'm so sorry. I never wanted—" "Yes, you did," she snapped, her tone suddenly sharp. "You wanted to humiliate me, and you succeeded. You destroyed my career because I hurt your feelings." Her accusation stung, but anger rose in me, too. "You didn't just hurt my feelings, Sophie. You erased me. You asked me to deny the very thing that defines us. I gave you exactly what you asked for." Her sobs turned cold. "No. You gave me public humiliation I will never escape. I don't want to see you again. Ever." Then the line went dead. I sat frozen, phone clutched in my hand. Outside, reporters swarmed. Inside, the silence pressed down like a weight. My daughter had cut me out completely, and for the first time in nearly 3 decades, I wondered if I had truly lost her forever. The days that followed were a blur of headlines, interviews I refused to give, and whispers in Riverside every time I opened the bakery doors. Customers came in with sympathetic eyes, some squeezing my hand and saying I was brave, others clearly judging me for destroying my daughter's career. I felt caught between two worlds, the quiet rhythm of bread rising in the ovens, and the loud chaos of a media storm that refused to die down. Then came a revelation that shook me even deeper. My sister Rosa called from Portland, her voice urgent. "Margaret, the morning news is saying Sophie's business troubles started months ago. Your video may have been the final straw, but she was already struggling with clients." At first, I didn't believe it. Sophie had always presented herself as flawless, unstoppable. But later that evening, a young woman named Amy knocked on my door. She introduced herself as one of Sophie's former colleagues and looked nervous as she sat in my kitchen with a cup of tea. "Mrs. Chen, I thought you should know the truth," she began. "Sophie wasn't just ashamed of you at that ceremony. She's been hiding you for years. She told everyone her parents died in a car accident when she was in college. She pretended she was raised by wealthy relatives in Bellevue. She even had fake photos." The words knocked the breath from me. My daughter hadn't just hidden me, she had declared me dead. Amy's eyes filled with tears. She built her whole career on a lie, and people believed it. We all did. When your video went viral, that's when we realized she'd been lying all along. The truth was bound to come out, sooner or later. After Amy left, I sat in the silence of my living room, staring at photos of Sophie on the walls. Graduation caps, birthday cakes, smiles that had once been mine to share. All those years I had been proud of her achievements. She had been telling the world I no longer existed. My anger shifted into something colder, a grief that felt almost like mourning. I hadn't just lost my daughter that day in Seattle. I had been losing her long before, piece by piece, with every lie she told. 3 weeks later, my phone rang again. This time, it was Sophie. Her voice was raw, broken. "Mom, I need to see you. Please." Against my better judgment, I agreed. She drove 2 hours from Seattle and arrived at my door late at night. When I opened it, she looked nothing like the polished woman from the ceremony. Her hair was unkempt, her eyes hollow, her body frail. She sat on the couch and immediately burst into tears. "I'm so sorry," she sobbed, "for all of it, for asking you to hide, for lying about you, for pretending you were dead. I don't know how I became this person." I stared at her, my heart aching, but my resolve firm. "You became this person one choice at a time. Sophie, every lie you told made it easier to tell the next one. And eventually, you erased me entirely." She nodded, shoulders shaking. I was scared. I thought if people knew I came from a small-town bakery, they'd never respect me. I thought being your daughter would make me less in their eyes. But I see now it was me who became less. I've lost everything. Her words pierced me, but I didn't move closer. "Do you understand what it means? Sophie, to tell people your mother is dead. Do you know what that feels like?" Her sobs deepened. "I do now. I know it was unforgivable. But I'm begging you, please don't give up on me completely. I need you. Mom." For a long moment, I said nothing. I studied the broken woman in front of me, trying to find traces of the daughter I once knew. I saw glimpses the little girl who used to help me knead dough in the bakery, the teenager who practiced speeches in the bathroom mirror, the young woman who called me every night from college. But I also saw the woman who erased me for the sake of ambition. "You need to understand something," I finally said, my voice steady. "I won't be your secret anymore. Either I am your mother openly, proudly, without shame, or I am nothing to you. I won't let you have it both ways." Her face crumpled. "So you're cutting me off?" "I'm giving you a choice. The same choice you gave me that day. If you want me in your life, it must be fully, honestly, completely. Otherwise, you've already made your decision. I stood, exhausted. You need to leave now, Sophie. Think about what you really want. When you can call me and say, "This is Sophie Chen, and Margaret Chen is my mother, and I am proud of that." Then, and only then, will we talk again. She left in tears, and I didn't hear from her again for 8 long months.